Good morning, everybody. It is 9 o'clock on a beautiful Wednesday. The long weekend confused me, I'll be honest. Yes, it is Wednesday. It is 9 a.m. My name is Joshua, and I am the Pacific Northwest Outreach and Customer Service Coordinator for Batdorf and Bronson Coffee Roasters. And you're joining us here on our Facebook pages for Batdorf and Bronson and Dancing Goats, as well as on our Periscope. So hello to you, and also YouTube. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. We are going to do another look into a coffee that we're calling Deeper Dives as we look across our catalog. We've been mixing it up with single origins and blends. Last week we really took a look at some of our blends. This week we have a new coffee that we're going to focus on today, actually in two kind of sessions. So at 9 o'clock today I'm going to be doing kind of the standard deeper dive where we look at flavor profile, and I'll be demonstrating one method for making the coffee. And then later today, Brendan is going to do a broadcast that looks at the same coffee with some different methodologies, all right, for brewing. He might even try it as espresso. I don't know yet. He'll let you know what he wants to do with it. But so we're really taking this coffee today and taking a look at it, and then hopefully getting you to consider trying it out, because it is a fantastic coffee. I want to introduce it now to you. So this coffee is our Guji. Now I'm going to take a look at it here really quick. There it is. So Guji. What do I mean when I say that? Well, Guji is an area within a subregion of Sidamo in Ethiopia. It's from Africa, and it is a naturally processed coffee. I'm going to talk a little bit about natural processing in a moment, but the flavor notes we're going to look at, and we'll take a real quick look over here at the flavor wheel, reintroduce you to this. So you'll see on our flavor wheel, we have a broad categories right here in the center. It starts with fruity, sour or fermented, green, vegetal. That's the area we're going to be today. Not in the sour fermented necessarily, but in fruity, vegetal, fruity, and then green and vegetal. Specifically, we're going to be looking at berry, and then down here, if you expand out through the categories, so for green vegetal, it breaks down into elements like olive oil, or let's see here, just the broad category of green and vegetative. Underneath that, there'll be several subcategories. So here we're going to look at, under green vegetal, the subcategory of herb-like. And then up in fruity, we're going to be looking under berry. And in berry, we're looking at blueberry. But also, I want to be clear, I also think that there is a quality of other berries as well. We'll come back to what we have displayed here on the plate. So, on our flavor notes, on the package, we call out herbal, rosemary, and blueberry. So we have some rosemary here and blueberry, and then some fresh herbs. The herbs I chose were sage, but also, more importantly, lemon verbena. Lemon verbena is part of a family that gives off an amazing citrus-like quality. And I think that that aspect of the coffee is there as well. There is a citrus quality to it, but it's not really, for me, when I taste it, it's not like some of the juicier notes of fruit or of citrus when we commonly think of them, whether it's orange or lemon, maybe grapefruit. We often think of the juice, right? You squeeze that fresh fruit and that juice that comes out with both the sweetness and the brightness and the acidity. It's more like, for me, kind of a rind, like a lemon rind. That's my experience of it. So the lemon verbena, I think, has that same kind of quality. It's an herbaceous lemon quality. There's an aspect of just that softer part of the bitterness, maybe. I know that term is a little bit, you don't want to think about it when you're thinking about your coffees, right? but there is a quality to it which is important because it offsets and balances on the palate. So this coffee really makes a lovely cup. If we want to take a second and look at the coffee. So looking at the Ethiopia Sidamo, if you go onto our website, and there's a link that was just provided, it does bring you to this page here, and you can read just in general about the coffee. I always, of course, recommend that you go to the detailed coffee report. You can pull that up, and we have here just a discussion of its region, what its altitude is, the variety, and then the process. And it's the process that I want to think about for just a moment. We will take really quick a look at where it's coming from. So you can see Eastern Africa there, right? Ethiopia. We make reference to the Great Rift Valley, just a reminder of where that is. So you can see it branches up around Lake Victoria here, and then you can see this point where my cursor is, that goes up, look at that, splits Ethiopia right there, right? And if you go back to our map here, you'll see I've highlighted kind of the region we're talking about, which is Sidamo. And then we can move all the way down here to Dila, and you can see where it is in relation to the lake here. You just remember that the Rift Valley goes right through there, and you can as you look, you can kind of this isn't obviously a perfect map for doing something like this, but you can look at the contours and the way that the Earth has shaped around that, and specifically look right. Look at this run of lakes, right? So this is the area that it is coming from, and as an African coffee, and as you may know, we have our name of our one of our flagship blends is Dancing Goats. That is, of course, named in honor of and in reference to the discovery of coffee. The kind of origin myth of coffee as far as humans are concerned. Coffee, of course, it existed for a long time before humans began interacting with it. And we talk about the story of the dancing goats because it's told that in the highlands of Ethiopia, a shepherd named Kaldi was looking for his coffee. Freudian slip there. He was looking for his goats, and he could not find them. And when he did find them, he heard their bells ringing. He came over a rise and looked down, and they were dancing around a tree. And they were eating the leaves and the fruit off of that tree. And of course, that tree was the coffee, right? And of course, being a smart human, as humans obviously have throughout history, we watch an animal eat something and have a response. Well, then we think, well, that's a test subject who is doing okay. They look very happy. I think I'll try it. And of course, Kaldi then discovered the beautiful aspects of coffee. The fruit, of course, you can see here in this picture on the coffee report, is like a cherry. You can see someone doing a picking there. We often talk about the importance of ripe cherries. You'll see that the coffee, of course, as you look on that picture, it's a great example of the coffee ripening at different times, right? You'll see there's obviously some very green fruit there, and the picker is looking for the ripe cherries on the tree. Now, sometimes with natural processed coffees, they'll let the coffee get quite ripe on the tree, although it's part and parcel to why natural coffees are so delicate. It's a very fine line that they have to walk when they're dealing with these coffees. Like other parts of the world where coffee is grown, this coffee is a collection of farmers, some kind of small shareholders, small pieces of land, or a relatively small portion of their land that's given over to coffee. They might have maybe 50 trees, and they all collect together in a washing station, in this case a processing mill, to have their coffee prepared. And the processing mill where we receive this coffee does both a washed version of this coffee and, in this case, a natural version of this coffee. So the farmers pick the coffee, and then here we can see this is a process that will go on throughout the life cycle of the coffee as it's going through process, right? That they are going to be, they start by picking ripe coffee, right? That's the goal, hand picking ripe coffee. And then it continues as it moves down to the mill to go through sorting, the sorting process. Now, in this case, the coffee will be put onto drying beds. They will wash it when they first receive it. And then the drying beds are the key, and you can see in this photo here on the left, this is a raised bed. You can see the other raised beds on the other side of it, and you can see them working at the raised bed as well. The raised bed is the place where the coffee is going to go through the process of breaking down the fruit and the enzymes in the coffee, and preparing that fruit, drying it on the outside of the seed, and to the point where we can remove the skin and the fruit and the mucilage, and get down to just the seed inside of the coffee. And it's that process, that what we call dry or natural process, that gives this coffee the unique characteristics that we find in it when we brew it. Often with these natural coffees, we often think of African origin coffees when we think of natural coffees. As I almost break my Chemex, live adventure here for us, folks. We often think of Africa for those coffees because it is the oldest way of processing the coffee. You know, we've always had to get to the coffee. We've always had to get beyond the fruit down to the seed. The seed is what we're roasting. And the washed method is the newer method. It produces a different coffee. Now, when we take this coffee from Guji and they take it to the mill, it can be washed as one method or it can be done naturally. This is the natural version, but they will produce very different flavor profiles. I will tell you, and this is, I get to be a little personal with this, natural processed coffee, that is my aha moment with coffee. Lots of folks might have had that. They might have different coffees they have that experience with, but for me, it was a naturally processed Yemeni coffee. And I think it's because of what occurs as that fruit dries around the seed, what that does to the seed, how it affects the flavor of the seed. That is just, it's so clearly different. It was for me. I had grown up drinking coffee, of course. Hey, I like coffee, sure. And then I will never forget where I was when I had, or if I might have had naturally processed coffee before, or maybe there'd been some naturally processed coffee mixed into a blend, which I didn't know. But the first time I had a specialty coffee, which was naturally processed, was that natural Yemeni coffee made by Tim McCormick in Zoka Coffee Roaster and Tea Company 22 years ago. He was using a number 4 Melita style pour over before he began roasting that day. We hadn't opened the coffee shop up. He had just sourced the coffee, and I think he got like a bag of it, just a bag of, one burlap bag. You've seen those bags in our warehouse before. So we didn't have much of it, but he got it because he loved it. He had been an archaeologist and he'd spent a lot of time in Africa, and probably where his love of coffees began. And I remember he shared that cup of coffee with me, and it was those jammy fruit notes. It was that acidity that was not that juicy acidity, but something a little pithier on the palate, and the herbaceous quality of it, and specifically also blueberry notes, like unmistakable blueberry flavor that just blew my mind. And it was because obviously the terroir and the type of coffee, but was those things, and then the processing method that lay over the top of it. That natural processing method added to the qualities of the coffee, and then with the right roasting technique, those qualities were highlighted. So that's all my way of saying that I really love natural coffees. And it's tricky because, as you might guess, we have coffee, it's a fruit, it's been freshly picked. They get it down to that station as quickly as they can on the same day that it's picked, and it has to be washed and gotten into its drying preparation as quickly as possible. And then it has to be managed. In this case, for 2 weeks or more, they're drying it in the sun, and it has to be constantly moved. That's why the beds are raised, so the air can move around them, right, and create a more equally distributed drying platform for them, rather than just putting them on the ground. Beds did a lot for natural coffees, right, and have done a lot for natural coffees. What it's done is it's allowed the processors to ensure that no defects occur, right? Fresh fruit in the sun, in the tropics, right? In the tropical zone. You can imagine there might be issues with that. So managing that takes a lot of skill and a lot of time. And, as you can see, a lot of people doing the work, right? Continually moving that coffee, ensuring that as it dries naturally, that nothing is molding, that there's not any areas in those beds of coffee as they move and they circulate that are not getting enough air, right, for microbial growth. So getting great, reliable, naturally processed coffee takes time. And that's why when we find one and we find a processor that we can work with, we're really excited. And this is, we've had Guji for a couple years now. We often will also release the washed coffee alongside it. We have the natural right now. And I'm really happy because I love this coffee so much. So, okay, I've talked enough. I love African coffees, and I love this naturally processed coffee. And because of the energy and time it takes to make them, we know that they're extra special. So I'm going to be doing a Chemex today. Why am I doing a Chemex, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you, because we are going to have a special event at the end of the week on Saturday. We're going to be hosting it through the Batdorf and Bronson VIP, the Booster Club that we have, which is a Facebook group that you are invited to join. And we're going to be bringing together in a Zoom call one coffee with one technique. And the technique we're going to be using is the Chemex. So I'm practicing with my Chemex because I don't brew with my Chemex every day. So it's nice to practice. So you'll see what I did was I pre-wet the filter for the Chemex. And then also notice when you use the Chemex paper, we have the 3, when you open it up, you'll have 4 leaves. 3 go to the front where this funnel is to allow, to protect the funnel from having it blocked. It's just stronger to have those 3 leaves there, and then the single leaf goes to this side here. And I have my coffee. I'm going to tear again because I have a wet filter now. I'm just going to give it a little shake the coffee bed out a little bit, tear again, and then I have my water here. Since I want to pop back over here for a second, I think I can show you my display capture device there. So down below here, if you look at this area here, and I'll go to the main, look right here when it talks about the roast profile. Now, we had some discussions last week when we were working with some blends that had darker roast components in them, and we talked about one of the things we can do to make the coffee shine is to lower the temperature of our water a little bit because of the components of dark roast. And I'm going to be doing a much darker roast, deeper dive, probably either tomorrow or next week. But in this case, we're not talking about a dark roasted coffee. This is a single origin, in which they've found that a lighter roast is going to be where we want to land with it. So you'll see that we have the spectrum there. It's moving up into out of medium into a light roast, what we consider a light roasted coffee. So in that case, my water temperature I'm going to hold a little bit higher, right? I'm actually working with 202 degree water. Now, let's see if you can see here. I start my timer, and I'm going to go ahead and saturate this to about 80 grams. Oh, and you can't see that. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can spin that for you. So you can see the coffee is blooming, and that's what we're doing in this first 30 seconds. We just want the coffee to expand, for the water to move around all of the grounds, and to begin releasing gas and exchanging it for water, right? And now we're going to go ahead and saturate. And this is why we have these gooseneck kettles, and why we recommend them is because we were able to, as you can see, kind of pinpoint where the water goes onto the coffee bed. I've got my flow started, and I'm going to go in the center and go outward. And I'm at about the halfway mark now, 360, for the total amount of water that I'm going to put into this coffee. With 40 grams of coffee, I'm going to be placing in 700 grams of water. And I'm just at the 1 minute and 30 second mark. And before I get too much of a wall of the coffee there, I'm going to go ahead and place in the remainder of my water. Again, all the way out to the outside. I'm going to slow down the pour. Remember, you don't want this to get too close to the top of that rim. And so one of the things we can do is kind of slow down our pour to just about what the exchange is, right? Which means I'm pouring about the amount of water in as the amount of water that's leaving, right? You can hear the water passing down through the coffee. I'm pouring at the same rate as it's leaving. I'm getting closer to our mark at 700. Slowly, right in the center there, as I get right up there to the edge. There we are. And now, the one thing I want to do with this pour over is I'm just going to do a little wobble. Okay, so why do I do that? I'm doing it because it's a cone, right? And the cone has I'm going to actually put that on there. Nope, can't find it. Okay, no worries. So the cone, the coffee is moved as the water's gone in. The coffee is moved out to the sides, and with a little bit of agitation from the water itself, it's kind of keeping the coffee grounds moving within that slurry. But as the water moves down through that cone, the coffee begins to lay along the side. And so what I want to do is I want to agitate it right at the end there as we're doing this last volume of water, in order to get the what's on the sides to move away from the sides and get into that main bed of coffee that's starting to form a little mini cone within the bottom of the filter. So that is what I have done there. We'll go back over here, as you can see now. So the coffee is not in a thick wall along the outsides of the brewing chamber there. It's actually been moved down into solution into that slurry and creating a bed of coffee that the water is now passing through. The reason being, if that coffee were to stay laid up on the sides of the filter, the water wouldn't be brewing it. It wouldn't be getting touched by the water to extract the flavor and the elements that we want from it. So that is why we do that. All right, I'm gonna let that coffee cool a second before I drink it. I do want to remind everyone that, again, would love for you to join us. If you've already ordered your Bolivia, which is the coffee being used on Saturday, please tell your friends to tune in and watch it. If you haven't, and if you just want to watch, you can do that still too. But you will need to go over to the Batdorf VIP Club. Definitely recommend you join. There is going to be one person who's participating, one of the VIP members who's participating in the brewing session with us on Saturday, who's going to win 6 months of coffee, a subscription. So that's the kind of stuff we do over at the site. I'm going to pop over to it really quick here just to show you. So this is the Batdorf Boosters site, and hopefully we can get one of the producers to drop in the address for it. You can just type it in. It's Batdorf Boosters VIP Coffee Club. You go on here. I'm going to zip by this here because that was a special coupon that's only available on that site for the members. But you should join because then you can use that coupon, right? And you see what folks do here is we share pictures of how we're making coffee each day. You know, obviously we put our videos up here as well that Ben and myself and Brendan do. Folks share their first cup of coffee in the morning. Here's the event, right? This is the last call. So with this event, we're kind of hosting it out of the VIP club. You know, the event was created there, and that's where folks hear about it and get to join in and be a part of it. So we do coffee launches. There's just notifying about the Ethiopia Sidamo Guji. And then again, we also do things like answer questions. Here we had a member who was asking about the very thing we just talked about with the Chemex. And we, you know, myself, Brendan, Ben, others are watching that page, and if questions come up about coffee, we can jump right in there and we can do little quick video tutorials, things like that. So please do join us there. Also, you know, if you are interested in this coffee, I recommend it was just brought in. It is, again, one of my personal favorites. You can go here to the coffee, and when you order it, of course, we can grind it for you. But if you've been watching, you know I've been having a push lately to try and convince folks to have grinders at home. So do consider a grinder. You can get discounts off of equipment by using our code, and it's the same discount you can get off of this coffee, off of a whole order. If you got a grinder and a Chemex and the coffee, you're going to get 10% off by using the code WatchAndLearn10. And I will tell you that over on the VIP Club, there's an even better discount coupon that's offered, but it's only for this month. So run over there and check that out. I want to thank everybody for being here again today. Thank you for taking time out of your day to learn about this coffee. The Ethiopia Sidamo Guji is just fantastic. Tune in later today because Brendan is going to do another dive into this coffee from a different perspective. So he'll be working with the Guji as well, and so you'll learn even more about it. And then I'll be back here tomorrow at 9. Ben will be here at 9 on Friday as well. And then we'll have the Brewing Together event on Saturday. Please do join us. We love playing with coffee with all of you. We love making coffee, we love drinking coffee, and we love the stories that you are sharing about the coffees you enjoy as well. So again, thank you for being a part of our life. I want to just finish by pouring this coffee, right? Because that's the whole point. You want to do. Now, with the Chemex, I always give a little swirl, just an incorporation swirl. And that's been, I think, long enough to cool it down a little bit. Yeah. God, that smells amazing. Yeah. If you have never experienced the unique aspect of natural processed coffees that give rise to that kind of fruity, jammy quality, slightly winey, a little bit of like good wine quality, and that's from that actual controlled sugar, slight sugar fermentation that can go on with the natural process. And then the lovely berry notes, in this case blueberry with sweet herbs. Try this coffee. It really is a pleasure. And you know, it's only here for a while because that's the nature of these single origins, right? We get them. They're an agricultural product, and you know, we buy what we buy, and we sell it, and then it's gone. So I do recommend you try it. It's great as we get into moving into the warmer weather. You'll see a lot more African coffees being released, and this is just one of the great ones that we get to start off this season with. Please give it a try, and let us know what you think. Here and in other places, we would love to hear what you think of this coffee. We'll see you tomorrow and on through into the weekend.